Hi, my name's Hannah and welcome to this third episode of the Pin to the Wind knitting podcast. In this episode I have a few things to talk about, one of which is this, which is my main work in progress, which I spoke about a little bit last time. I'll go into a bit more detail about how that's been going and where that's at. I have a second work in progress now. I basically cast on an Oslo hat, which I've made a few times before, but yeah, this is in kind of quite a special yarn that I picked up last year. Beyond that, I do want to talk a little bit about knitting technique this time, because I discovered recently, after quite a lot of years of knitting, that I think I have a non-standard knitting technique in the way I hold the yarn. So yeah, I find that really interesting in terms of how different techniques develop. I'm sure I'm not unique in this technique, but I find it interesting how different people can use wildly different techniques and still get to the same kind of knit fabric results. I want to talk a wee bit about that. And then the final thing is this cardigan, which is one of my much older finished objects. This is the Riddari, don't know how to say it, jumper by Védís Jónsdóttir, which I cardiganized, and I think I finished it either just under or just over 10 years ago. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about how this is held up, and yeah, I have some opinions on things I would do differently now that I'm a more experienced knitter. But yeah, that's coming up. So yeah, I'll just jump straight into it. So the first thing to say is that I have this is a random crochet hook, I've almost exclusively been working on this WIP since the last time. This is, I go into it in a lot more detail in the previous episode, just to recap quickly. This is a self-drafted, all over Colourwork jumper weight jumper. It's based on gloves that were on a TV show, so they were on the His Dark Materials TV show, and I've made the charts and also kind of drafted up just a simple drop shoulder construction to put the charts onto. It's knit in Uradale Yarn. I will put my Ravelry username in the description, and full details of everything I've ever knit are on Ravelry, but I'll also put kind of the key details in the description if anyone's interested in shades and stuff like that. So last time when I filmed, I had knit up to the armholes, and this time I had hoped to be able to hold it up already steeked, to have been able to try it on and talk about kind of how it fit and how all that went. I got really close to being able to do that. I've grafted the shoulder seams and everything, but I wasn't able to actually do the steeking because I discovered that I don't have a small enough crochet hook. I guess when I've steeked before, it's been in thicker weight yarn, and I didn't realise I didn't have a small enough crochet hook. So I did order one. This is knit in, the body's knit in on a 3mm needle. The smallest crochet hook is that one that was stuck to this because I kind of held it up, which is 3.5. So I really didn't want to do the steek reinforcement with a hook that was bigger than the needle I was using. I just wasn't sure that would go super well. So yeah, I ordered a smaller hook. It was supposed to come yesterday, and I thought that would be perfect, but it didn't come. So yeah, maybe it'll come today. There's a Hobbycraft not far from here, and I considered going and buying another one because it'll only be £2 or something like that. But no, I decided that was excessive. So I'm going to show it in this stage, and actually I think this stage is relatively interesting because certainly when I was trying to figure out neckline steeking, which I struggled with a little bit to conceptualize, I really was looking for pictures of jumpers at this stage. So you can see this is the armhole steek, and it's the same on the other side. I basically put some stitches on hold, and then I cast on 9 and just knit them in this stripe pattern, and I'll reinforce it with crochet, as I say, and cut down the middle. Same on the other side. The neck hole steek, I cast on 11. So yeah, this will open out and will be hopefully the right size of neck hole. I don't know if it's super obvious at first glance that there is an extra red line here. There's basically one extra stitch in, or like red or blue here. That is because I made a slight miscalculation, which is a bit frustrating. So yeah, basically I should have had, when I decided where the armhole steeks were going to go, I should have put one additional stitch to the back of the work, and then one additional stitch should have been, or one fewer stitch should have been on this front side, which would have meant that you wouldn't have this extra bit here. But no, I realised that I didn't feel like ripping back Colourwork, so basically I just left it, and I address, like put that stitch here, if that makes sense. And then when I pick up for the neckline, I'm going to just pick up one stitch back on this side, if that makes sense. So it won't affect the finished garment, but I have made a note for myself if I make this again to not do that, because although it is a small mistake and it's like 100% fixable, I've just found it a bit frustrating because this is such a dream for me. It's excuse me, I'm just so happy with how it's going and enjoying working on it so much that any mistake feels kind of amplified. But no, it's fine. The other thing I did, so when I grafted the shoulder stitches together, I used green, so the green that's in these middle stitches here, and yeah, I really like that as a little contrast colour detail. The only thing I would say is that I've never really had to think about my tension in Kitchener stitch, because I've always done it in the colour of the rest of the work, so it's never been super noticeable. But actually with this one, because it's supposed to be kind of like a detail, I've noticed that my tension is much looser on this side than on this side. I don't know if it's going to show, but kind of the green shows through to different extents. Yeah, you can kind of see it. The green shows through to different extents on both of the shoulder seams. So yeah, that, I mean, again, like these are super minor nitpicky things that I'm almost sure nobody would notice if I'm just like wearing this jumper out and about. So yeah, my phone died there. But yeah, other things to say about this. So when I first started working on it, I was very worried about the amount of yarn it was using, especially with the cream colour. When I bought it, I did think, oh, I've bought a lot, like this will definitely be enough. And then it's just when I started working on it, I got worried about it and started to knit super fast to figure it out. But the update on that is that I think that will definitely be fine. I mean, I have knit the whole body, grafted shoulders and everything, and I'm still on the first ball of red. I've got a tiny little nub of it left, but I'm still on the first ball of red, and I've got 4 of those. So yeah, definitely people will be getting things similar to this as hats and gloves or hot water bottle covers or whatever for gifts. The one I was most worried about was the white colour, because I only bought 3 of those, but I'm maybe like a quarter of the way through the second ball, so 2 sleeves to go. I think that'll be fine, and the neckband and the cuffs will both be in blue, which I have plenty of, so yeah, I think that'll be okay. One thing I didn't mention last time about this was about catching floats. So my slightly embarrassing knitter confession for someone who's been knitting for a lot of years is I'd never caught floats before this project. I'd always kind of heard folk talking about it in podcasts and stuff like that, and just thought, like, Colourwork is fine. I probably don't need to, but it turns out I just never knit a pattern that required it before. And although this was self-drafted, I realised kind of quickly that it did need a bit of that. So there was in each, so a repeat is essentially like this, so like these 4 lines. In that there's 4 rows that, in my opinion, require catching a float. So there's, I don't know if you can see here, there's one that has 9 white in a row, and then one that has 11 white in a row. So I've been catching floats there. I find my technique for that is not great. So yeah, after I kind of just persevered with this because I didn't want to stop and watch videos about how to do it in different ways. I used pretty much the very first video that I found, which was made by this woman who I have watched so many of her technique videos over the years, either for refreshers or to learn them. I think it's Very Pink Knits, who is just, I think all the videos have like millions of views. I'm sure she must have taught countless people how to knit. So yeah, props to her because it's always super helpful. So yeah, I used her video, I'm pretty sure, but I feel like there must be, it doesn't totally gel with how I knit. So I'm not a continental knitter. I guess is it English style? Is that what you call it? Yeah, so I throw the yarn. Actually, I'll maybe talk about that now because I do want to talk a little bit about knitting technique. So a few months ago, I was watching a video of Hazel Tindall, who is, I don't think she holds the world record for being the fastest knitter in the world, but she's definitely won a few international competitions where she's earned the title of world's fastest knitter. So I've always felt that I'm a very slow knitter, and because of that I was really interested in her work. And actually I went to Shetland Wool Week last year, so when I was at Shetland Wool Week in the Shetland Textile Museum, I bought a pair of gloves that Hazel Tindall had made and I gave them to my mum for her birthday. So I'm semi-jealous that she has them, but no, my mum really appreciates them and she appreciates knitwear and the story and all that, so yeah, very happy to give her them. But they're beautiful gloves, they're like super well made, and I just find it really impressive that she makes this beautiful work whilst being really fast. So there was a video, I will try and find the video and link it in the description if I can. There's a video where she's been interviewed and she's speaking about her knitting technique. And I was really heartened by the fact that she also does not knit continental, because I always assumed that the fastest knitters would kind of inevitably knit continental style. So she doesn't knit continental, but she also doesn't knit the same way as me. I watched the slow-mo version and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then she said something which really made me pause. I think this is the same video, but she said that she once met a woman who was like in her 80s, had been knitting her whole life, and she held like her fingers in front of the work and held the yarn in front of the work. And what Hazel Tindall was saying was that that seems like essentially an ineffective technique, because the yarn has to travel really far to then go around the needle to make the stitch. And I was listening to this and I was like, oh no, that sounds like how I knit. So I guess for context, the way I learned to knit was that my auntie taught me when I was a kid. Confusingly, she's a continental knitter, so I don't knit the same way as her, which makes me think that maybe she taught me the basics and it somehow got muddled in my brain and I've ended up with this potentially quite inefficient technique. So I'll talk about this in a minute, but just for demonstration purposes, basically I hold the yarn like that. So I tension it with my thumb instead of it being around my other fingers, and I hold it in front of the work like that. So I was looking at a lot of videos to try and see if I could find like anyone else doing this. I'm sure there are many people who do, just as a disclaimer, I am not claiming to be unique in any way, but yeah, all the videos kind of tell you to tension, hold it at the back and tension with your little finger. I've tried to do that. I can't, like, it feels so unnatural at this point because I've had so many years of knitting doing it the other way. But yeah, I'm holding it like this at the front. So if I can, I think I do have some footage actually that my partner took a while ago of me like knitting the way I would normally knit at normal speed. It's not, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the slowest knitter in the world. Like, I'm not super fast, but I don't think I'm super slow either. The thing that I was worried about when I or not worried about, but the thing that I sort of thought about a bit when I heard the chat in that Hazel Tindall video was, oh, if this is really inefficient, is it going to be bad for like arthritis type reasons? Like, is it going to be hurting my hands? But I guess on reflection, like, I can't change it now. I really can't. I've tried to get my brain to do continental. I find when I try and tension things on my pinky fingers, like the way that the diagrams show you how to do it in knitting books and stuff, it feels really loose to me. Like, it just feels so natural to tension with my thumb in front of the work that I think it kind of is what it is at this point. So I'd be really, really interested to see if anyone else knits this way or has opinions on it. I think like my overall philosophy on it is that as long as you're getting to the same result, like, it's fine. You can knit however you like, obviously. But I would be keen to know if this is a technique that has a name, for one thing, or yeah, I've read a little bit about how different techniques can wear on your hands. So I'd also be interested to, like, if I know the name of it, I would very much like to Google it to see if I'm doing something that's not going to serve me in the long term, because I could potentially make a bigger effort to try and change the way my brain works around knitting and try and undo some of the muscle memory. But that, it seems like a difficult task, but if it's going to be causing harm, it's potentially worth it. So yeah, that was a little interlude just on something that I found really interesting. It looks like my phone's going to die again, so I'm going to stop the video now and then restart. So after using this as a demonstration piece, this is my second work in progress. So this is an Oslo hat. I have made an Oslo hat. I've made two Oslo hats before. I actually made one for myself and one for my niece. I'll maybe put them here, or maybe it's the other side, I don't know, just so you can kind of see them. Basically made a red one for myself and then a little pink one for my niece. I decided to make another one for a couple of reasons. So the red one that I have is, I wear it a lot, but it is probably a little bit too small, or like not small but like short. So like it covers my ears, but I have to pull it in quite a lot for it to cover my ears. And also the brim is a little bit short, so I spoke about it in another episode where I sort of misinterpreted the pattern and made the brim a little bit short. So I wanted to make one in a bigger size. That previous one that I made for myself was the second smallest size. This is the third smallest size, so I went one size up. And also I just really wanted to try this yarn because I am in the market for a bigger quantity of it. So if I can I find a ball with a label on it to show. So it has needles stuck in it, as all my balls of yarn do. So this is the Rosedean Ryelands yarn. It's by Dalmore. Oh, there's also one of these in here, the little things for interchangeable needles. It's from Dalmore Croft. So I bought this sort of on a whim. I was at that point in the market for comfrey root cuttings. So I have an allotment. I'm a keen gardener, growing a lot of, or at least in the summer, growing pretty much all of our fruit and veg. In the winter, like now, less so because weather. But yeah, I have an allotment and I really wanted to get some comfrey growing on the allotment. Because comfrey is just an amazing plant. It has a really, really deep taproot that can go down for like meters, I think. And it pulls up nutrients, and then with the leaves you can make like a comfrey tea that you can feed to your plants. And also just it's good to have the leaves for things like the compost pile or mulch or whatever. So yeah, it grows from root cuttings. So I got some like twigs in the post essentially, but they all took, I potted them all up. Every single one grew really well. So if you happen to be in the market for both wool and comfrey cuttings, can recommend both from Dalmore Croft. Yeah, when I was looking for comfrey cuttings, I just happened upon that croft because I wanted to get them from Scotland. I wanted to get a really specific type of comfrey that has stereo seed so it wouldn't spread all over the whole allotment. So I found that they were one of the few suppliers that at that point still had them in stock. And they also make their own yarn. So I couldn't resist that. They don't seem to make it super often. So this is it 2019? Yeah, so this is from their 2019 clip. So this is from it's Rosedean Ryelands. I think Ryelands, I don't know if the whole part is the breed, but Ryelands is definitely the breed, because on the website they talk about how the breed was previously quite endangered, but then it's really, as a heritage breed, it's really been brought back, and now it's I don't think it's on the endangered list anymore. But it was originally, I think somewhere down in England, they used it to graze rye lands where they were growing rye, so that's where the name comes from. But yeah, they seem to have a really, really nice ethos, and I wanted to support the croft as much as I could by buying the cuttings as well as the yarn. So I bought two balls. This is the colour light. So yeah, from their website, 2019 was the most recent clip. I don't know if they had ones more recent and they've just sold out, or whether this was actually the most recent clip. But yeah, they have three colours and they're all natural, undyed. They're just blends of the coloured fleeces that they have available. So they have light, mid and dark. This is the light one. It is not super light. I would say this is like kind of a mid grey. It actually really reminds me of like school cardigans, like that kind of grey colour of the generic school cardigans that you can buy for all schools, regardless of the uniform. So yeah, it feels really nice. It's much softer than, like, it feels softer than Shetland wool, I would say. Not massively so, like it's definitely not a soft yarn, but it feels quite soft and nice. So yeah, I was really keen to knit with it. And I had thought to myself, like for a while I've wanted to make like a vest, I guess, or a tank top, or however you want to call it, with buttons. And I really want to make the Burgos vest, which is Burgos. And I really wanted to make that in like a dark, natural grey brown colour. So I would like to buy a bigger quantity of this yarn in the darkest blend to make that, but I wanted to knit with it first just to check that I liked it and like was happy with how the fabric knit up in different ways. So yeah, wanted an Oslo hat, wanted to try this yarn. This is what I've ended up starting to make. Yeah, my phone is dying every 5 minutes now, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that and keep switching it. So yeah, this is what I've started to make. I'd only started this last night, and it was because I didn't have the crochet hook and I needed to continue on that other project. So yeah, I'm using, actually I cast on initially with a 4mm needle, because at that point I thought I could still make the size that I made for myself previously with a bigger needle and just have a slightly looser fabric. But the fabric was way too loose. I didn't like the look of it, like in general, and especially not for an Oslo hat, because the Oslo hat does benefit from a tighter fabric. So yeah, this is how it's knitting up. Yeah, I really like the fabric. It feels very nice. It feels woolly. The main thing I love about it is the colours though. So this is As I say, they have those 3 different shades, but every shade is a mix of natural fleeces, so this is all the lightest ones that they have. And you can see there's like flecks of even white in it. It's just, yeah, I love the colour, and it, even knitting this amount, has kind of solidified that I would like to buy a bigger quantity of the darker colour for a vest. The only kind of slightly negative thing I'd say is that, so I've only knit this much and I've found 1 knot so far. That could just be bad luck. So basically where the yarn's obviously broken and they've just kind of, don't know if magic knot or just tied it together. Which is slightly annoying because it means that I have to, I had to kind of undo that knot and then join the yarns like I would normally join, and then I'll have ends to weave in. But it might just be bad luck, like it might just have been on the fringes of that ball that I broke into and I won't find any more. If, like, so I won't order it immediately. If I do knit more of this and find that the knots are all the way through, then I might reconsider, but it's almost worth it even if that is the case, because this is exactly what I was hoping for and what I was looking for that Burgos vest. So yeah, not loads to say about the pattern for this because I've made it twice before and I've kind of discussed it, and it's a super popular pattern that there's loads and loads of notes for in Ravelry. But yeah, I'm looking forward to wearing this. I'm hoping to finish this before the end of like hat wearing season, which I think will be fine because this is towards the end of January. We're 20 something of January at the moment, so I'll be wearing hats till like late March probably. There'll still be cold days up until then. So yeah, this is my second work in progress. Not loads to show right now, but I appreciated having something to keep my hands busy when I can continue with my other WIP. So the final kind of main thing that I wanted to talk about today is this cardigan that I'm wearing. So yeah, as I said at the start, this is the pattern is the Riddari or Riddari jumper. I was very bold as a new knitter and decided to stick it and make it into a cardigan. And it's by Védís Jónsdóttir. So when I first started to knit more kind of consistently, when I was, I guess, an adult, I visited Iceland in 2013, and that was really what made me get back into knitting, because I went to the Hand Knitting Association of Iceland, which is a dreamy place, and I wanted to buy an Icelandic jumper, but they were like kind of out with my price range because in 2013 I was still at university. I just didn't have that money. I think it was, I mean, inflation and stuff will have changed now, but I think at that point even it was still over £100, which I do think is very reasonable given that they're hand knit, or at least handmade garments with real wool and all that, but I just couldn't afford it at the time. Whereas the yarn to make one was less than £30, which was much more achievable. So I sort of remembered that I knew how to knit, and I bought wool to make an Icelandic cardigan, which I'll maybe show in a future episode. It's really bad, but I did make it and wear it and enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure it was a steeked cardigan as well, so like the very first proper knitting project that I did after being a kid was like a steeked Colourwork yoke cardigan. But I do think, like, I think the same thing about gardening as with knitting, where like, I can't remember who said this, but everything is beginner level if you're willing to sit there and suffer. Like I think it's much better to go in and knit something that is not typically considered a beginner pattern than to like sit through a scarf that you're going to find boring and ultimately give up on. So yeah, that's, after that I went on to knit a few more like Icelandic colourwork type jumpers, and this was one of the first ones. So I made this in 2013 or 2014, potentially early 2014. At the time I think I had either just finished or was writing my dissertation, so I remember being quite stressed about that, and I think this was like a good like channel all your stress into knitting type project for me at that time. So first of all, on the yarn, the colours in the yoke are all Jamiesons of Shetland. Oh, I want to say DK, but I would have to check that. It could be Aran. I will check, and I'll put it either in the description or it's definitely on Ravelry. So the colours are Rosewood for this darker colour, which is not showing up super well, but it's very heathered. It has sort of even flecks of yellow, but a lot of kind of like reds and blues in it. There's Highland Mist, which is this blue colour, which I've since made other projects in, excuse me, that I discussed last time. And this kind of white cream colour is Eesit. I'd say all of the Jamiesons of Shetland yarn has actually held up really well. The one area where it was wearing a bit is the cuffs, but I mean it's 10 years, so that's fine. And I'm pretty sure I still have a little bit of rosewood from this that I could potentially do a little bit of reinforcement with. The other colour, this grey colour, this is, I bought this off eBay from a seller called Woolbothy. I did look into this recently to see if it was still there. There's quite a lot of people looking for them. It doesn't seem to be still there, but I could be wrong on that. I just couldn't find it, but they were called Woolbothy. And this was the colours of Caithness, Aran, which means that the rest is definitely Aran actually. So yeah, as I say, it was cheap. It came oiled in like, what do you call that, like hanks, is that right? So like when it's twisted and long. It came oiled. I washed it before I knit with it because I was knitting with unoiled yarns. I would say that like, I think that's about all of the projects that I made early on, where especially the ones where I used acrylic wool, which doesn't apply to this, but I think like you can feel the price difference. Like it's quite scratchy, not super scratchy, and I still wear this because I mean like it's never really touching skin on the arms. I'm always kind of generally, if I'm going to be wearing a Shetland jumper and if I feel like I need that warmth, I'm going to be wearing long sleeves underneath, so that's kind of fine. But yeah, that is, if I were to make it again, which I've been tempted to do a few times, I think use all Jamiesons and Smith or Jamiesons of Shetland yarn because it's held up really well. It's softer. I just overall kind of prefer it. So yeah, the pattern, as I say, was a jumper pattern which I steeked. I made, aside from that, I also made quite a few mods. So as I say, like bold for a beginner knitter to be making lots of mods and steeking and all that kind of stuff. I very much benefited though from the notes of somebody else on Ravelry whose Ravelry username is definitely in my Ravelry project page. I think a lot of people followed those notes because this was quite a big pattern, and the way I made it, it ended up being smaller than the extra small size, so I deleted some parts of the chart and basically just had fewer stitches because to make it fit better, because I think it was essentially made to be yeah, either oversized or like a man's pattern effectively. But yeah, really happy with that element of the fit. The one element of the fit that I'm not happy with, which again is consistent through a few of my earlier projects, is the fact that I did not add short row shaping. So it's kind of hard to show, but it's just not great. It means that because there's no short rows, if I never wear this buttoned up for this reason, because the front becomes quite high, and it's like not ridiculously high, but I really dislike things touching my neck. I find it a bit like choky. I really don't like it. So again, if I were to make it again, I would add short rows. And I think that is the one thing that would make me wear this a lot more than I do, is if like that fit was different, because as I say, I can only really wear it open comfortably, or like with a couple of these buttons here done. And realistically, like if you're wearing a cardigan like this, it's for warmth, and wearing it open obviously undoes a chunk of that. The other thing that actually, so I can't add short rows at this stage, or like I could, but it would involve surgery that I'm not willing to do. So the other thing though that I can change is the buttons. So it has kind of like dark wood rounded buttons, which are fine, but I just think my tastes on buttons have kind of changed a bit. So I think like I haven't worn this in a while. Sitting wearing it now, I think I might change the buttons to like, I saw there's a fabric shop in Glasgow that has really nice, I don't think they're a real horn, but like black horn buttons. So they're kind of like black, they're like a minimalist sleek type button, as opposed to this one has ridges in it, and they have like flecks of kind of brown and cream through them. I think that might be more to my current taste. So yeah, in terms of overall usage though, as I say, really minimal wear, and I remember wearing this quite a lot to university, because I remember one of my friends made that typical well-meaning comment to a knitter or sewist or crafter where I was wearing it, and she was like, oh, I would totally buy something like that if like you sold them, like I would totally pay for the wool. And I was like, that's a really nice compliment, but no, not really worth it. Yeah, so I remember wearing it a lot to uni. I also, so the photo that I have of this on Ravelry is from 2017, so a few years after I made it. I took it with me when we did like a road trip around Scotland with one of my friends, and I've worn it on and off since then, but it's definitely petered out recently, and it's because now I have a lot more hand knits that don't have that fit issue with the short rows, and which do have buttons that I like, and which aren't kind of made of slightly scratchier wool. But yeah, I think my plan for the immediate term is maybe to wash and block this again, because the washing will hopefully make the this grey colour a little bit softer. I might be able to kind of stretch out the neck a bit and try and intentionally address the fit issues and also change the buttons, because sitting wearing it, like I love the design of this. I think it's a really good pattern. I remember I loved making it, and it's a shame that I don't wear it super often. So yeah, that's my plan for this. Those are the main things I wanted to talk about today. I will insert here footage of this Colourwork jumper steeked and cut open if that crochet hook does arrive today. So that'll go here if that's happened. If there has not been a cutaway, it means it has not happened, and I'm still waiting for the crochet hook, which is disappointing. But yeah, no, thanks so much for watching this. I am really loving making these videos, and I get really excited whenever someone comments or likes it or any of those things. So yeah, thank you to the people who have been watching this, and I'll see you next time. Bye.